Es Adriana Rivera y a continuación se dictará la conferencia titulada Liderazgo para transformar el sistema educativo a cargo de la ponente Päivi Mayer, quien es docente principal de liderazgo en la Universidad de Ciencias Aplicadas de Tampere en Finlandia. Además, es codirectora del programa de MBA en liderazgo educativo y enseña las clases de liderazgo y gestión en una gran variedad de cursos y programas educativos. Tiene 30 años de experiencia como entrenadora, consultora, profesora y experta en los temas de aprendizajes y desarrollo. Y lo ha aplicado en diversas organizaciones internacionales en los campos de finanzas, farmacéuticas, consultorías, fabricación de acero y educación en Finlandia, Suiza, el Reino Unido y Alemania. Päivi ha investigado la capacidad de innovación de equipos multiculturales virtuales y desde hace 10 años está particularmente interesada en investigar cómo mejorar el liderazgo motivacional en la práctica. Durante la conferencia estarán presentes alumnos de apoyo de la UPC para ayudar en lo que requieran. Muchas gracias por su participación. Por favor, brindémosles un fuerte aplauso.
Now it's better, huh? Yeah, very nice to see you. It's been a long 3 days in the conference, lots of ideas. Yeah, for me too. I've learned a lot. This is my second time in Peru. I was here 3 days in the last October, actually on a stopover, almost by a chance, on the way to Chile, where I never got to go because of the riots and challenges in Chile. But I'm so happy I decided to look on the map and see what's between Florida and Chile, and where could I spend the 3 days instead of going back to Europe just for a day. That's why I'm here today also, because I met Manuel and Yasmin and other people in UPC and got really excited about the Peruvian education system, and they thought that maybe I could have something interesting to share about leadership. Well, let's see what you think. So my experience with Peru is very limited, so I cannot translate any of the things for you into your Peruvian context, okay? So they are really general things, but I would like to share with you some ideas which I think could potentially work anywhere in the world, but you can then judge later if that's the case and what you can take from this. I don't have much experience in the education or leading education systems. I work at the university only last 10 years, so 10 years university experience as a leadership teacher. And then before that I have been in different companies, but my kind of background is mainly in business administration, international business, and from there leadership. Okay, so I just want to say this. So I'm not kind of educator by heart. I only have been an educator only for 10 years. So that's my experience. You heard about my background, and I will tell a few words about that in addition. So when we talk about leadership, I have learned a lot of leadership and self-leadership through my husband, who is from Switzerland. So having a multicultural couple has taught me a lot. And now I'm learning a lot also with my 2 teenagers at home, a son who is 16 and daughter who is 14. They have grown so far into a decent human being, so I'm very happy. It's been a good collaborative work with my husband. They speak Finnish and French because we speak them at home, but more happy than that, I'm about my own leading myself by learning to be and react in a calm way. It hasn't been easy for me, but it's an interesting leadership experience. I also have a dog who is 3 years old, and I hadn't really realized how much leadership you can also learn with a dog. So those who have animals might understand what I mean. I have to disappoint you in the beginning directly that I cannot tell you how to change your education system or any education system. But since this topic was suggested to me, I said, okay, I'll take the challenge and I will see what can I possibly say about this topic. But yeah, I cannot give you perfect advice on this topic. But I bet there are not many people in the room who could say, yeah, I know how to change the education system. So it is a complicated topic. But let's see what I can share with you. I also think it would be okay to ask questions at any time. It's because we have quite a lot of time. And I don't want you to fall asleep, at least not for the whole time, but think about what you would like to ask. So raise your hand if you feel like asking. So let's see how we can do it like interactively, okay? And the first person who asks a question will get a prize. Any questions yet? Okay, that's me. And I live in Tampere. Tampere is the second largest city in Finland. We chose the place because there's a good education in Tampere. Is a school where the kids can learn both Finnish and French. That's why we moved there. And it has been very nice. Okay, topics for today are transformation in the education system. When you think about changing a system, what are the few things I think you should keep in mind? And then the leadership practice we all should use. And finally, to wrap up, what are therefore the recommendations to improve transformational leadership in educational institutions? Okay. Let's start with transformation. What is it all about? I mean, it is really about change. And at least in my business studies, I've come across many times Dr. John Kotter's writing. Please raise your hand if you are also familiar with John Kotter's 8 steps for leading change. Okay, some people, okay. Well, you may wanna check what he has researched. He has a very nice systematic point of how do you create a change. So for example, if you want to have 2 organizations merge with success, what should you do? It's very top-down, very systematic approach. Even if you use this kind of approach, he writes that 70% typically of the changes fail, particularly if you try to do big changes top-down. And why is that? It's because of the culture. Cultures, for example, if you take 2 schools that you would like to merge, they might have very different cultures, even within one city. And therefore, it is really complicated if you don't take that culture aspect into account. Yeah, and the other thing is about the culture. It's important to understand that a change in a system is a holistic, where you have many different aspects you have to take into account. I like to think of a world also through the Cinefin framework. And Cinefin framework was created by Dave Snowden in 1999 as a decision-making tool, a framework for making better decisions. And it's very good to think about what kind of a context we are in. Is our context, if you think about your organization, is it an obvious world? Are things predictable? So if things are predictable, it means that if you decide to change something, you know in advance what's going to happen. There are no surprises. Cause and effect relationships are very clear. Or is it complicated? Is it complicated, in which case, yeah, cause and effect relationships are clear, but only for those who have lots of experience and education. So they can predict through studies, through having discussed with other experts what's going to happen. Or is our world complex? And in complex world, we are talking about unpredictable world. Cause and effect can only be identified retrospect. So we can only afterwards analyze why did certain things happen. Let's say we change, for example, the curriculum. So this is an example, I think, of a complex task in a complex world as well. So we decide to change it, and then we can kind of predict some things that's going to happen, but there are lots of other things that's going to happen. The implications it will have will only be analyzed later. And therefore, it's very important that we understand that in this kind of world, it's a lot about trial and error, small adaptations, and then we learn. Okay, what happened? We can't plan a whole change project up front to the last detail, because things are not going to happen that way because of the unpredictable change in nature of the world. I hope you don't feel that your organization is in a chaotic world, because in a chaotic world, it's really even afterwards difficult to understand what really happened, because things change so quickly in a chaotic manner. But it may be at times like this, but at least hopefully more in the complicated and complex world. So change management cannot be done in the same way than if we are in an obvious world where we can make a top-down plan how things gonna change. So it's more trial and error, and bearing the uncertainty, and bearing the fact that you will maybe never understand 100% what happened. Okay, so this is kind of, if your system is complex, complicated, or chaotic, change management can't be planned very clearly. Therefore, I would like to share with you a model that I created at the end of my PhD thesis, which I wrote about 20 years ago, quite some years ago. So I researched in a pharmaceutical company their R&D teams. So the goal was to identify what kind of conditions should the top management create for the 137 product development teams that were developing new medicine. And the goal was to create conditions in which the teams would create new innovations very quickly, and which would also be effective, so they wouldn't lose time, because time is money. And based on that research, we came up with some fundamental things that I think apply to any system, particularly in this complex and chaotic world. And I will share with you now some of these aspects. It has lots of words in it, but I just quickly want to point out a few things. First of all, most of the work happens in teams, and that's why it's important to think about collective aspects or collective teamwork. And team processes. So what processes do we have in place that people share knowledge with each other in a small working group or in a team? Second, is there time to learn? So we try to change something together, we put a lot of effort in a certain project. Do we take time to stop and think what happened there and learn together? And at least in this pharmaceutical company, what happened is that they had they were so busy and they were in so many different teams that they really never had time in meetings to talk about the key learnings. And you can see that all this, the whole work kind of stands on trust. And this pharmaceutical company, which was very multicultural, the teams were spread around the world, so the team members were in Japan, in the US, and also in Switzerland. Very, very complicated setting. They had trouble trusting each other because they were spread far apart, and they had so different cultural backgrounds and also so different educational backgrounds. So it was really, really important to build trust first. And the question is, what kind of processes in teams help you to build trust? Of course, getting to know each other, and in those teams which were spread around the world, they really had to come together face to face. There was no doubt that even though they had very good video conferencing systems already back then, face-to-face meetings were really fundamental for that. Okay, it looks like I will run out of battery. Anybody to help? Okay. So trust is really important, and when you think about your organization, how do you trust your colleagues? Is there trust between you and your boss? Is there trust in your working team? Okay, so I think the key finding for my thesis was that yes, this is important, the trust is important, you have to focus on improving trust. And then in order to create innovation or environment for innovation, you also need to balance out factors that create chaos, tension, and diversity with those that create order, consistency, and security. And that particular company, the balance was keeping to this way because they decided to give a lot of autonomy for the teams, which is great. But there was a bit too much of it. Autonomy, I don't know about in your organizations, but it really means that people can decide a lot for their work. So they have a lot of power. Then discussions and dialogue means that people have a chance to talk. Because if people have a chance to talk freely, new ideas come up. Also, it's important to have like a shared vision that guides the whole teamwork. And people have to understand what is the purpose, why are we here? And also kind of a knowledge vision, which means that what is it that we will learn? What are the competencies we will develop through these activities? And then finally, diversity. In this company, diversity was very big, so there were people from all over the world in these teams. So that was certainly in place. And I think it's important to have a kind of the same level of diversity that is needed in your, that your customers have. And if you think, who are your customers? Maybe they are the students, the pupils. What is their level of diversity? And ideally, your teachers should represent all those groups of diversity. For example, in Finland, we have the problem that most teachers are female. Not all pupils are female, of course, so that's why it's important to have also male teachers more and more, to at least have that level of diversity. Okay. Right, so in that company, there were lots of that, but there was too little order, consistency, and security, and people didn't feel comfortable, and there was not enough knowledge being shared because they didn't feel safe. And one of the most important things is this concept of collective care. Collective care is the feeling where you feel like the organization I work for cares for me. Somebody might even think, oh, the organization I work for loves me. I know some people who feel that the organization loves them and therefore they love the organization back. But if you don't go so deep, maybe caring is enough. Now, I would like to ask you, do you feel that your organization where you work cares for you? Does your organization care for you? Please raise your hand if you feel that yes. A few. More, okay, good, great. And therefore, of course, then you care back. And then you are willing to really engage in this kind of innovative activities. You want to improve your organization. You want to make things better. But if you feel your organization doesn't care, why would you care? You just do your job and you get the salary and you know, focus on other things. You put your energy in other things. So very important. Then this kind of collaborative processes where people can collaborate. And not just within one team, but across the teams. So there's a great book called Teams of Teams, which focuses really on creating an organization where teams work well within the teams, but also across the teams. It's very important the team doesn't come too closed, because if you just focus on working in the team, you will start kind of competing with other teams, and that will not benefit the organization. Continuity and stability, and particularly in that organization, there was a problem that people changed jobs too quickly, and therefore the teams had different members, they're changing members too quickly, which then of course reduced trust, and the processes didn't work. When I talked with the HR manager about it, human resource manager, we found one reason why, and that was because in that big organization, successful people had to kind of move to a new role every 2 to 3 years. And it was supported by human resource management because it was part of the talent development. Okay. So they decided, let's not keep this practice, because it doesn't support the teams, and these are our most important units. The company will not succeed if the teams don't work well. And finally, create kind of collaborative structures. I think I said it already. I think I said it in the wrong place. Just a moment, look at my slide. Yeah, I talked about the collaboration. What I didn't talk about is this kind of redundancy. And redundancy here means that you have people who know what you do, who could do your job, who could replace you, and who could work together with you in order to also help you become better at your job. So having like a wise person, a replacement person for you. And in big organizations where they try to be very lean and have really as little people as possible, this is often not thought about, that somebody could do the same job than I could do, right? At least in our educational institution where I work, I have my courses, my colleague has his courses, and only now, actually beginning of this year, we have been encouraged to teach together, co-teach, so that we could also learn from each other, and my colleague could replace me. If I go to Peru for a week, she can take over my courses. But this is kind of new thinking, at least in our organization. Okay, this is just in terms of systems, what kind of aspects are important. It's important to have trust, it's important to have a balance between diversity, chaos, tension, and order, consistency, and security. This is my understanding how systems can become transformational and how they can change. And I do think this can be applied to an education system as well, or to a school. But let's see what you think. Okay, let's take a question or comment here. Then we move to more active part. Thank you, sir. Wait a second.
Muy buenas tardes. Me llamo Ernesto Pino, de la Universidad Nacional de Tacna, frontera con Chile. He estado pensando en este proceso de la exposición sobre la autonomía universitaria. Y nosotros acá en el Perú, hace pocos años, hemos tenido la creación de la Superintendencia Nacional de las Universidades, justamente por el abuso exagerado de la autonomía universitaria, ¿no? Y me gustaría saber cómo lo enfocan este aspecto puntual en el contexto europeo.
Okay, I can only respond to about Finland because every country is so different. In Finland, it's really the Ministry of Education, and politics have a big impact on what happens there. But the universities are quite autonomous too. But important is to have a clear vision and communicate it top down from from the government about what is expected, what's the role of university, what are they supposed to produce, what are the goals. And if people and the universities understand the goals, and then they can have autonomy how to reach the goals. I think that's pretty much a philosophy in the Finnish education. I hope I understood your question correctly. Deserves the prize for the first question. Congratulations. This is my favorite chocolate. I hope you like it. If you don't like, you can exchange it to another bar, okay? Okay. Okay, you can still ask questions. I have a second bar, so maybe we can use that too. Okay, but let's move on. This was more like a very theoretical, but let's move to more practical part. Practical part, leadership practices we all should use. And now we go to kind of individual level about how to change things. So let me ask you now one thing. Is there something in your system, in your organization, in your school, in your life that you would like to change? If yes, please raise your hand. All the hands are up. Okay. So, for me, you are a leader. So the definition for a leader for me is somebody who wants to change something. And when I teach leadership, some people are like, oh, but yeah, how can I don't think I should attend your course because I'm not really a leader. And then I ask, okay, do you want to change something in the world? Oh, yes. For me, you're a leader, so you are welcome to come. So there are very some specific or general skills and practices that anybody who wants to change something should take. So independent of your role. Of course, particularly if you are the principal of the school, head of the university, yes, certainly. But also all the others, even if you don't have the formal role, I would like to encourage you to think yourself as a leader and act as a leader. And I think that's the secret for changing also education systems or complicated systems which require lots of people thinking and acting. So please put on an invisible leadership hat. Now you are a leader, okay? And you should share with me some thoughts about the leadership practices everybody should use. But let's start with one more kind of theoretical slides about transformational leadership, since this is kind of one of the topics of the lecture as well. What does it mean? Transformational leadership has been the kind of, if you say, most researched theory of leadership, at least in the Nordic countries, the countries I know, for the last 20 or so years. And it has become like the way of thinking about good leadership. Bad leadership, in contrast, would be this kind of laissez-faire leadership or not leading at all, where the leader is not there, doesn't do anything, okay? Is kind of just paid, but is in another country or another office, and you don't see that kind of leader. Please raise your hand if you have seen or you know this kind of leaders. Yeah, they do exist in Peru too, not just in Finland. Okay, then the most common, in my at least in Finland, in many organizations, is this kind of transactional leadership, where you kind of you have a contract with your employees. The contract is that they are supposed to do these things. It's maybe in their job description, and then you pay them for doing that, right? It's kind of transaction, contract, and then your job really, or lots of your time is used by corrective transactions. So if there's a problem, you step in and try to solve the problem. Yeah, I think lots of leaders or lots of people here identify with that kind of leadership. This is what it's mostly about. That's why it's so stressful too, right? Lots of problems to solve. Now, difference from transactional leadership to transformational leadership is quite big. Of course, a leader should do those things too, but more and more employees expect that a leader or leadership is actually influencing us positively. Idealized influence. So what does that mean? Idealized influence. There's some kind of bigger purpose made clear to me by the leader. Then there is this inspirational motivation and inspirational. So a leader knows how to motivate me and can inspire me by doing that correctly. And then thirdly, there is the intellectual stimulation. So we are smart people, we are educated people, we work in organizations full of that kind of people, and we would expect our leader also to intellectually stimulate us, come up with new ideas and help us learn new things. And then finally, this individualized consideration, which would, at least for me, means that your leader knows your specific circumstances, whether you are a father of 2 kids or whether you are a daughter of somebody elderly person who also needs to be taken care of. For example, in my situation at the moment, my father was diagnosed with Alzheimer a year ago, and I'm the oldest daughter, and my mother is no longer alive. So I'm really responsible for him. And when he needs to go to the doctor regularly now, I will always take half a day off and drive to his city and go with him to the doctor. And luckily, my boss, my organization, understands it. So there will be flexibility, and that's individual consideration. That's for me part of transformational leadership. Now, please raise your hand if you feel you are a transformational leader. Great, fantastic. I haven't not yet met anybody in Finland who is a transformational leader, because I think it's quite impossible to do this perfectly. But I trust that you are good leaders. and there are also good leaders in Finland. The expectation of individuals is so high that I nowadays tend to think that it's almost impossible for any one leader to cater for a group of 10, 20, 30, sometimes even 50 employees who expect to be treated exactly like that, independent how smart and great they are. And therefore, I strongly believe that leadership is more like a service, and you should organize a system where lots of different people provide you with those things. It could be your boss, but also your colleagues could inspirationally motivate you. Also your colleagues could help you to deal with your private life situations. So I strongly believe more and more in shared leadership and leadership among the shared among the team. Okay, so it's just my... Okay, do we have a second question or comment at this point before we move to leadership practices? Thank you. Yes, just a moment.
Buenas tardes. ¿Cómo hacer en una institución donde hay personas que no se identifican con una visión o que son algo tóxicas? ¿Cómo transformarlas para que contribuyan al logro de la misión institucional?
That's a very good question. Are you okay that we go through the 5 leadership practices? Because I think it's with the 5 leadership practices I will present to you that you can do that. Okay, so we come back to you, but you already get the chocolate, so. It's a great question, but please remind me if I forget. Okay, after the 5 leadership practices. So let's go. This is a long answer to your question, what should be done. I think that if everybody learns these 5 leadership practices and starts practicing them, using them, toxic organizations turns into great organizations. Okay, that's my claim. So what are these all about? These 5 leadership practices Okay, I continue. Yeah, they are based on a very intensive research project that began in 1983. 2 American researchers called Kusis and Posner. Maybe you have heard about their book Leadership Challenge. It's really like being a bestseller in leadership literature for about 20 years. Well, what they did, they asked ordinary people to describe what these ordinary people did when they managed to create a positive change. So they managed to lead with success. So anybody. And they analyzed thousands of case studies, and based on the thousands of case studies, they kind of distracted these 5 leadership practices that all these case studies had in common. So what did people do to manage to change a toxic culture to a very good culture? They did these 5 things. And I like this concept almost more than any other leadership theory because it's based on research and it is easy and simple to remember. World is full of great theories about leadership, and still there are lots of bad leaders or people perceive or experience bad leadership. So I think one way to bridge that gap would be maybe to make things more simpler and therefore there is a less time wasted between using a theory and turning it into practice and action. So anyway, I like it because it's simple and helps people to behave in a better way. So let's look at them together. Inspire said vision. You also mentioned vision. Vision is important. And it is important, if you think about the thing you want to change, what is it if you turn it into a vision? There's a problem, and what is the vision? What is the goal? And how would the world look better if this problem would be solved? What is the compelling vision? So I would like to encourage you today, tomorrow, go back to your, your organization, or maybe after your summer holidays rather, and then you start telling what is it that you want to change. So you create a compelling vision by sharing it with your colleagues. And it needs to be shared because you cannot achieve anything alone. You need to have people with the same vision working together. I have also put here like communication, marketing, branding, lobbying, because I've noticed that many people in the education are really smart, they have great ideas, but they don't maybe know how to get their point across, particularly for those who sit or have the control over finances, or what should be done in curriculum, what should be done in the system, who may not have the same ideas. So it is important to learn how to do lobbying. I don't know if word lobbying is a positive word or a negative word here. It's certainly not very positive in Finland, but it's so important to learn these skills. And I really hope you have a chance to learn more about this marketing and make your points across. Did you know, for example, that Maslow's need hierarchy? Do you know Maslow's hierarchy of need, motivation pyramid? It probably is so widely used because Abraham Maslow was the head of American Psychology Association when he created that. So he had good marketing, he had good network where he posted that. It has no scientific validity, but still it's used a lot because it was well marketed. I'm sorry, I hope I don't insult anybody, but that's what I know about that topic. Okay, so if you have a good idea, it's important we learn to market it so that our vision becomes shared by a bigger community. Let me show you one vision statement I found. It's written by Emiliano Bosio, who studied in University College London. I don't know Emiliano, but I was Googling for vision for education, and I came across with this one, and it touched me. It felt, oh, this is a great vision. And I do hope that this Emiliano Bosio has managed to share this with other people. But now it's seen by all you, right? Just because I accidentally found it. So he put it in the internet as one way to share it, right? But I'm sure you have great vision what you want to do. Maybe from marketing point of view, this is a bit too long and complicated. Maybe there should be image, maybe there should be video of it. But as a content, I think this is a great example of great vision. Okay? Personal opinion. Okay, model the way is the second leadership practice. What does it mean? It really means that you walk the talk. You are the change you want to see. You show by your own experience what you want to change. And for example, if you think there should be less toxic environment, what is it you can do on the following working day to make it change? You can be friendly, you can smile more, you can give positive feedback, and that's what you should do first, of course. And then you start talking about the vision, all that. So it's pretty simple, but we don't always do that. And what will help there is that you understand who are you, what drives you, what are your true values, because then you can authentically communicate it also to the others, and you can authentically walk the talk. I would like to now share with you another motivation theory, which I think is much better than Maslow's motivation theory, also because it helps people identify what drives them and what are their values. So, about 10 years ago, I'll tell you a story of a hard or difficult time in my life. About 10 years ago, I was working for a Swiss bank called UBS in Switzerland. In my dream job, I was working leadership development, and it was highly international, well-paid. I had fantastic colleagues. Life was good. But then came the bank crisis, the financial crisis in 2008, and the whole department where I worked, we kind of didn't have any more work because I was working in training and development in a company, and this is the kind of stuff that is put first on hold if there is a crisis, as if it wouldn't be important. So the whole year we didn't get any work really done. And then at the end of the year I got feedback from my boss about how I reached my goals, and she said, well, you didn't because we couldn't do anything. Okay, luckily we didn't lose our jobs, but still it was hard time. And then I realized that I'm no longer motivated to work here. And I said to my husband, that's it, I will quit my job. I don't want to go there anymore. And he was quite surprised because I had been really motivated for 8 years. So what happened suddenly? It was just one feedback discussion that was so hard for me. And then I realized that yeah, there's something deeper going on here. But I couldn't really figure out what it was. A couple of months later, a colleague came to me and said, hey, would you like to do a new personality test, Reese motivation profile, to find out what really motivates you? And maybe we can see from there why you really lost your motivation in this situation. And I had that, and then I got my motivation profile, and it really taught me something new about myself, although I was already 40 years old. And then it made me quit the bank, which was very highly paid job. We moved to Finland, and I moved to education. And I have been so happy. I never regretted that. Although I have so much less money, but it's still enough. But you know, money was never my motivator, and it, by the way, is for nobody, based on science. Depends on situation, of course, but still. So, what did this Reese motivation theory? What is it all about? So, professor of psychology from the Ohio State University, Stephen Reese, wanted to make better scientific research about motivation than what Abraham Maslow had done. And about 20 years ago, he put together a team of researchers, and they interviewed thousands of people about what motivates them, what drives them. And the result were that all human beings in all countries are motivated by these 16 things. So everybody in every country, also in Peru, there are people who are motivated by power, being able to influence, and the other things too. What is interesting is that how much people want this is highly individual. So some people are highly motivated by power. They want to influence, they want to decide for other people. In every meeting they want to raise their hand even if they wouldn't know, really. And then there are people who have low need for power, who don't want to decide for other people, who want to focus on their own things, right? And most people feel it on a medium level. So there's kind of normal distribution of people. Most are in the middle and think, yeah, I want to a certain extent, in some situations, I want to decide, I want to influence, I want to change things. Okay, and the same applies for all these. For example, curiosity. Many educators think everybody's curious. Yes, but to what extent is highly individual? And what kind of curiosity is motivating? There are people who have high need for curiosity in terms of thinking, analyzing, strategies. They love to learn new things independent of its practical use. People who read books about different topics, they watch documentaries about different topics. When they meet a new person, they're always curious, what can I learn from this person? So very wide range of topics they're interested in, and they want to understand them in detail, even if they could never use those things in practice, okay? And then there are those who have a low need for curiosity. It doesn't mean that they don't want to learn, but they want to learn for practical use. Very different approach for curiosity. So these concepts are maybe a bit complicated to understand like this, but I just want to show this to you regardless, because it's important to understand the level of your personality in a detailed way. So we all are driven by this, but the combination high, medium, low is highly individual. We all have different motivation profile. In this room, there are people who have high need for psychological need to think about food, for whom food is a very important topic psychologically. And there are people who don't really care, right? Who wonder why people make such a fuss about it. The same applies to all of this. Okay, so maybe let's do it like this. Have a look at this. Talk just a few minutes with the person next to you. Do you identify where you have a high need, which is really important for you from these words? So this is my test of who is still with me here. Okay, let's continue. I will show you my motivation profile. I explain you why I lost my motivation at this bank. It was really about I have very high need for power, which means that I really want to influence things and do things. And I have always been workaholic, and work is very important for me. And getting things done at work, changing things, influencing things at work is important. And we had this 1 year of just waiting basically before this feedback discussion with my boss. So that really got me very demotivated, that I couldn't influence. And now, ever since I've been a teacher, I have groups like you every day, different groups, different people. And when you stand like this and you talk, you feel like you can influence. Whether you actually can, that's another story, but it gives you satisfaction of feeling like you can influence, right? Feeling of power. My need for power is fulfilled. And there is nothing good or bad in any combination, by the way. It's just if the behavior is really bad, if I start to dominate you, control you because of my high need for power, then it turns into a bad behavior. Okay, but you need to understand, for me, a key value is doing things, getting things done, influencing and changing things. I value that, and I value other people who get things done. Okay, that's me, authentically. Then I have high need for social contact. It doesn't mean that I'm socially competent. This tells about my motives, my needs, why I behave the way I do. But I do also want it to come to Peru to meet new people. And I actually do enjoy having lots of people here in this room. It gives me energy. And as a teacher, I get energy from new groups, and I love it. Okay? I can't be much alone. I can't work alone, home alone, more than half a day. Then I get bored. I have to go to the office and get to the coffee room and talk to my colleagues and be with them. People with low need for contact, social contact, who would have the bar here, they can be equally or even more competent socially, but they get tired of many people. They are sitting here thinking, oh my God, I need to go home and be on my own. And luckily there's no conference like this for a long time, because it was draining my energy. Okay? And there are also many teachers who have low need for social contact, who are still forced to be with lots of people, new students all the time. And then they wonder, why don't I have time to, or why don't I have the energy to be with the really important people at the end of the day at home? And it's because their need for social contact has been fulfilled. It's full. The glass is full. And then it's important to realize it also for your own well-being, and maybe your values. Maybe you value solitude and calm, and there's nothing wrong with that. And maybe you should try to do more one-to-one teaching or smaller groups and have more time during the working day to be on your own to really not burn out. Okay, that's one application of this profile. High need for status. People with high need for status really value feeling important, having nice titles, having nice position, being high up in the hierarchy. And this, like most of the other things here, are also can be seen in animals. So there are biological roots in them. And of course, like if you are in a group of lions, it's better to be the head lion because you eat first from the prey. So similarly here, status is good. I have high need for status, but I'm in Finland where the culture is very much like this. So I cannot show off the same way I could show off in other cultures. I can't enjoy all symbols of status the same way because I would be hated, pushed away from the organization. But I have my ways. I'm happy. I can enjoy my position. I can enjoy being interviewed for our newsletter. These are the things I can do. Maybe here you can show it differently. But there are equally many people with high need for status in Finland than there are low need for status, and most people feel it to a certain extent important. And finally, physical activity is also my high need. Psychologically, I need to move. Physiologically, everybody needs to move, but some people have a psychological need to move, which is very high. It hurts them to sit the whole day, mentally also. Okay? And then there are people who really can sit, and who, in order to move, they need to think of other motives that make them move. Okay, I just want to share this to you as well, because I use it as a tool to understand who are you, what drives you, And how are you different from other people? And how can you how can you avoid evaluating other people through your classes? Because there's no good or bad. Okay, just one tool, but for me it has been very important. And it is important to understand what do you value? I value getting things done. I value people, friendship. I value success. And I value sports. Okay. Questions about this? Or comments? Yes?
Aló. Ya le di el micro ya.
Sí, quería consultar desde su perspectiva educativa en Finlandia, ¿cuál es el rol de participación de los padres de familia para el éxito que sabemos que tiene el sistema educativo de ese país, ¿no?
Parents have a big role for children in general, as we have also heard in this conference. In Finland, I'm a parent of 2 children, and I don't think I have a lot of role in how successful they are at school, because the school is so autonomous, and the teacher and the system has worked well for them. They always did well. They never had lots of homework, and I never had to help them with homework. But that's quite similar with other colleagues of mine as well. That, for example, you don't have to help. No, mostly you don't have to help your kids at all with homework ever. Just one example. So how is the system built that way? Maybe they get less homework. Maybe they get more support at school. And of course, the classes in Finland are pretty homogeneous, so it's easy to teach homogeneous groups of children. But I would say that the impact of parents is probably less than in many other countries, because of the system being so well organized and conditions being so easy. Homogeneous, most people speak Finnish, very similar educational standards people have. The inequality is very low. That's the situation. Question there?
Hablamos un poco de lo que es, cuando hablamos un poco del tema del liderazgo, yo también soy mamá, podría decir que yo soy líder en mi casa. Pero a veces nos ponemos a pensar todas estas características que nos muestras el día de hoy y pareciera que tendría que ser una persona perfecta. Yo podría tener un cuadro de un checklist y poder colocar cuáles son mis cosas que tengo al 50 o 60% bien desarrolladas y qué habilidades todavía no las tengo potencializadas. Incluso me puedo esforzar para poder llegar a que todas mis cualidades se vayan fortificando, pero el líder transformacional pienso que va un poco más allá de solamente centrarse en habilidades, sino va más en el trabajo de corazón, de pasión, de metas claras, y si tú has caminado por ese camino, entonces puedes encontrar gente a tu lado que también quiera caminar contigo. Pero lo que sí me encantaría saber es la otra parte, ¿no? ¿Qué hay detrás del líder? En este caso, yo como maestra de aula puedo hacer que mi equipo, en este caso mis colegas, entre todos podamos trabajar algo juntos y vamos a encontrar líderes en cada uno de sus aspectos, ¿no? Pero ¿cuál es ese líder que va más allá de ello? O sea, ¿cómo desarrollamos nuestro liderazgo desde nuestras esquinas, ¿no? Que va más atrás, no mirando hacia adelante la fórmula, sino buscándolo detrás de cada uno de nosotros, porque no somos perfectos, ¿no? Entonces, si el líder es un ideal, bueno, lastimosamente, entonces quiero saber si soy líder o no todavía, ¿no?
Okay, thank you for the question. Now I ran out of chocolate, but I would like to give you a big bar of chocolate for this. Maybe I can thank you otherwise. I think it's a lot. I truly think everybody can be a leader. Okay, but everybody can be a different leader, based on their own personality. Starting with that, and that's why it's important to understand who are you, what drives you, how are you different from others, and how you are similar to others. And that's why I prefer also for the leadership trainings to use this kind of a concept, so people understand what we have in common is that we all want these things. Everybody wants it, but how much is individual? And if you understand it, what makes me a better leader, personally, is that I understand that these are the things I want, but I also understand that there are some strengths and weaknesses maybe attached to my strong needs. Example, high need for power, high need to influence, right? Positive things are that I get things done. If somebody hires me, they know things will change. She will change things because she has so high need to changing things. You can't prevent her, or you shouldn't prevent her anyway. What she changes, we don't know. And now comes also the downside, because I have so high need for changing things, I may be impatient, controlling, dominant, if I don't realize that the feeling that comes in the meetings is from this, and it's just a feeling. I can decide to behave differently. I can decide to calm down and say, okay, now shut up, baby. You already said your opinion. Now you dominate. Now you don't make anybody else say their opinion. And then you become a better person, a better leader. You learn to behave in a better way for the community, for the others. But I think it's important to understand what are your drivers to be able to stop and think and behave differently. But still, it's even more important to understand that in order to have energy, to be a positive me, the best me, I still have to be able to influence a lot. So I have to find an environment where I can influence a lot. That's still even more important. But behave in a smarter way. Fulfill your needs in a smarter way, so you don't disturb others, you don't make people, you don't break others, you don't disturb the organization, but make it better. Turn it into a strength and not into a weakness. I think that's my best answer to your very good question. Is there any other answer for the question of the lady? You have a better answer. Very good. Another question. Okay.
Muy buenas tardes. Hace tiempo leí que una de las características propias del liderazgo es también cómo responder dentro de situaciones imprevistas, de un mundo impredecible, a las inmediateces, en cuanto que muchas veces nos sacan de nuestros propios esquemas o de nuestras programaciones. Lo mismo para un directivo que para un docente dentro del aula. Entonces, ¿es algo propio de un liderazgo transformacional o transaccional? En la anterior comparecencia tuya, en otra de las conferencias, sobre este aspecto no se habló nada, no se dijo nada. Entonces, ante un mundo cambiante, ante situaciones imprevistas, ¿cómo debe actuar un líder?
I think this is how a leader should behave. Do these things. And what you said about the how to respond in a new situation, I think you can always give a smart answer. You can always say, oh, I know this is how you should do, right? But how do you know you are right? There's so uncertain things. So I think you should behave in a way that the group starts to find answers among themselves and help each other to find answers. So you create a system where there is true collaboration and trust among the people. That there is really a collective that answers to these questions, that you don't have to alone give the answers. And therefore I like this coaching style. I don't know if, coaching is really asking good questions and helping people find the answers themselves. I strongly believe. But it's also about what is your identity. Do you feel you are a leader only if you are the smartest? Or do you think, no, I create conditions where everybody can be smart, and I create conditions where people can learn from each other, and I hire smarter people than myself because they are doing the more important work with the customers maybe, or with the pupils. Is it about helping others succeed, or is it about helping you yourself succeed? Okay, but I'm happy if somebody else answers these very good questions. I don't know. I hope I should have said in the beginning, but that I actually have no idea about leadership. I don't know anything about leadership, really, but I'm curious to learn more since 30 years. That's why I'm here too. Okay. Sorry. Okay, but I still continue. Some other people know about it, and actually these 5 leadership practices I think are really useful. So let's move on to the next one. Before that, it's important to understand for a transformational leader in the first place, do they think people are good, or do they think people are actually bad? Do they think people must be controlled? Or do they think they should use this theory X management, or should they use theory Y management? And theory Y management, you really believe that people are smart, motivated, good people, and I should just help them to get their work done better. So it's a fundamental difference between the behavior of the leader. And I see many organizations where the culture is more like this, and then they wonder, why are people unhappy? Why do they leave? Of course. But it's a kind of mindset. You believe your people are good or not so good. Okay. I jumped this one. So third one is to enable others to act. So as a leader or as a colleague, what can I do to help my colleagues succeed? What can I do to actually give them the resources, the time, the competencies to get the work done? What can I do there? And I put here one specific thing about help them create or learn in diverse networks, because I truly believe that we all should have more and more opportunities to go out of our box. Go to study new things, go to meet people from other circles, go to another website, go to another social media group, really to learn from different people. And the other thing I put here is use coaching style. So one example for my best example, so at the moment, or the dearest example about the collaborative learning and learning networks, is this master's program we are running since 3 years. It's called Masters in Educational Leadership. And these people are all principals or heads of university deans and heads of kindergarten all around the world who want to learn collaboratively from each other. And it's really been fantastic to see what they have learned from each other. And we as teachers or program managers, we just create conditions where that happens. So when I teach leadership for these people in a course, I don't claim these are the things you should learn about leadership. I give some inputs. I say, look at this, look at that, and then collaboratively see how you can solve challenging leadership cases together. In this program, and also in life in general, I think learning should be a combination of different things. Individual learning, collaborative learning, and then ideally creating something concrete together, and then turning it into concrete practices at your working place. And this is how we kind of structure each course that these students go through. We also always also put it in practice, try it at work as well, immediately and not just after the whole program. Okay. Brain research has, in my opinion, brought maybe most new things in leadership theory or leadership practice in the last years, because it has developed so quickly. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we didn't know so much about brain than we know today. And my colleagues Kallio and Puhakka from Finland wrote in their book Future Leadership some key aspects what brain research can bring to leadership, and I have them listed here. Okay, I would like you to just read this, and do you have any questions or comments? Okay, so for me, the key point from this would be that giving advice, our brain regards it as a negative thing in general, okay? And as a leader, many leaders are used to giving advice, telling people what to do, particularly in authoritarian cultures and authoritarian companies, which could be anywhere. And now if you want to be a more motivating leader, you rather start using questions instead of advice and answers. And for some personalities, it's much easier to listen to other people and ask questions than for others. People with high need for power, like myself, tends to just tell. The kids come at home and ask, Mommy, where can I find the milk? And I will tell, it's in the fridge. Okay, and then they come and continue asking. And it's kind of natural just to tell them. And the similarity at work, people come to ask for advice, and I just tell my advice without thinking much. I love it. Somebody comes to ask for advice. It feels good. But if I want to help people grow, help people becoming better, and help people feel better about themselves, I would rather ask questions that help them find the answers themselves. And that's in the core of coaching, using coaching style. So as a coach, you would rather ask good open questions, and the person feels, oh, I know much more than I thought. I found the answer myself, and they are much more motivated to actually do it. So they feel more empowered, they feel smarter and better about themselves, their self-esteem is better. And as teachers, we know it, but we ask questions as well. But I don't mean here like interrogative teaching kind of questions to test people's knowledge, but more to help them understand their problem themselves and find solutions themselves. It's very different from directive development. So I think we should be more like this, and that's why modern coaching with open questions is very effective as helping others succeed and as enabling them to act. Of course, then there is the fourth one, challenge the process. And I know lots of people, when they become leaders of schools, they immediately want to change everything. They want to leave their trace. They want to make people feel the difference. And they don't really appreciate the things that already work well, and then they may stress the whole organization out. They may burn out the whole organization by doing too often, too quick changes. It may have to do with their personality as well, that they are motivated by doing changes. But it's important to understand the importance of security and safety and balance, and not burn the organization out with unnecessary change, but really focus what needs to be changed. The second thing is about really understanding the system. Understanding what is the work to be done, who are the people here, what are they like, what do they know, what do they don't know, and then involve them and work together with them to change anything. And that's why I don't think I can give you any advice about how to change your system, because first of all, I shouldn't give any advice, as we just heard, and secondly, I don't know your systems. You are the only person knowing your school, your people, your team. But it's important to know what drives them, what motivates them, what's important for them, what do they value. and then you can challenge the process. One big topic in Finland at the moment are these self-organizing teams. Self-organizing teams, they are teams without a boss, who kind of work like this group of ants. Ants there somehow figure out a way how to collaborate together. And in self-organizing teams, everybody is responsible for their own work, and everybody supports each other. And there it's really everybody is a leader. Everybody helps each other with these 5 leadership practices. And finally, encourage the heart. This is maybe the most important of the 5 practices. You may ask yourself, what did I do today, if you are here with a colleague, to make him or her feel good about him or herself? When did you last time give positive feedback to a colleague at work? When did you last time give positive feedback to your partner at home? And how do you create psychological safety? Psychological safety, it's an important concept as well. There are lots of books about that at the moment. How do you create psychological safety? And this is really about many things we already discussed. So leaders trust the teams and the team members. Mistakes will not be punished. We didn't talk about that though, but mistakes is a way of learning. Remember, if we are in the complex organization, complex system, complex world, we must learn by trial and error. And then lots of positive feedback and encouragement must be given, and everybody can take and give also critical feedback if they feel safe. And then we can really also learn from our mistakes. Okay, so before we have maybe a few more questions, final recommendations. It's basically to summing up everything I said so far, so I don't need to repeat that.
Muchas gracias. Una consulta muy importante sobre liderazgo es que un líder, un verdadero líder, genera un clima laboral o un ambiente laboral positivo, un ambiente constructivo, donde el trabajo es verdaderamente en equipo y no es verticalizado, sino es horizontal, donde el director, por ejemplo, una institución educativa, ocupa también un espacio en la línea horizontal de la institución. Pero ¿qué pasa cuando el director o los directivos se convierten en personas que no contribuyen al cambio en la institución, cuando son personas que no generan este ambiente de trabajo positivo para sus empleados, o en este caso para sus colaboradores o para sus docentes? ¿Cómo poder combatir esto, siendo ellos los directivos?
Va en la misma, en una línea complementaria a lo que el colega ha dicho. Si el líder o los líderes pedagógicos de la institución son buenos, cumplen con las condiciones que tú nos has compartido y que creo que nosotros también compartimos. ¿Qué pasa con los que reciben ese liderazgo y que no contribuyen a esa mejora continua de la institución? Que era un poco lo que la colega al inicio de partía. Las personas que se resisten al cambio y que en lugar de contribuir en beneficio de la empresa, pues van poniendo cabes, van poniendo planteando inconvenientes, ellos mismos se convierten en un peso para la empresa, para el clima laboral.
Okay, so people who resist change, I think, people have always good reasons to resist change, and I would do everything I can to find out why, what is their problem. And sometimes changes are really bad and stupid, and you are so happy to have people who resist it and stop it. So I would really carefully listen to people who resist change in the first place, trust thinking that they are smart and they know a lot of things. And then if you find out, okay, the reasons are not good or valid, maybe they lack information, so give them more information about the situation, about the change. And then if you know what drives them, what are their values, what is important for them, we can maybe explain the reasons for change so that they really understand them and buy into them. And sometimes if these people are blocking the change, we have to move them away. And this is, of course, easier said than done. This is on maybe your foil. But that's my worldview, is that most people are genuinely good people. That's my idealistic way. So I would always come from the fact they probably want to create something good with resisting, and then move from there to the more negative thinking if that doesn't help. Did I answer your question as well? Or, but you asked about the boss, right? What do you do with your boss if they, yeah. I feel the same. When I was working for this bank, I was there for over 10 years, and I had 11 bosses. Lots of change in bosses. That was all in itself bad. No stability, continuity. And 2 of them I thought were good. All the others I thought were bad. Then I talked with some other colleagues later. Did they feel the same when we were no longer working there? No, he was good, but because he did that. So it was just my perception. With what I saw, I regarded the person as a bad manager. And there's so much we don't know what's happening up there. All the politics they go through, all the lobbying they have to do to secure that maybe the whole organization exists in the future. So maybe accepting that there are things we don't know, maybe they try to do their best, maybe they're doing a lot, but we don't see it. That's my view. And then if you can be in the leading role to decide who will be promoted, be very careful what kind of people you promote to the next step. But yes, hard question. Okay, are there any other questions? I think we have time for a few more. I'm so happy you're so active. I don't feel like too lonely here. Yes, just a moment.
Hola, yo soy Valeria Suárez de la revista educativa Antesala. Actualmente yo estoy haciendo mi tesis también en liderazgo docente. Y una de las cosas que he investigado y que me ha llamado mucho la atención es que se entiende que una de las funciones principales de un director de escuela o de cualquier institución educativa en realidad sí tiene la obligación de fomentar el liderazgo en sus docentes también, que no se quede solo en el mismo, ¿no? Entonces, pero yo me he puesto a pensar y analizaba hasta qué punto es tan conveniente, o sea, abrir ese liderazgo a los docentes para que no se centre solo dentro del aula, ¿no? Sino también fuera del aula, pero que no se exceda y que no afecte a su desarrollo, claro, profesional, pero también personal, humano, ¿no? Porque a veces la carga laboral puede ser tan grande que el liderazgo se ha interrumpido, ¿no? Entonces, esa es mi duda. ¿Qué me podrías recomendar?
There's somebody who would like to give an opinion on this, because I don't think what I would recommend makes much sense. So I would like to ask anybody from the audience to answer this question. So much knowledge here, so thank you, sir.
Gracias. Mi nombre es Manuel. Nuestros líderes políticos generan mucha consecuencia y acarrean mucha desgracia al pueblo, ¿no? En Latinoamérica y a nivel mundial. Los líderes de colegio igual. Creo yo que como líderes de colegio, yo soy director de un colegio, y como líder y director del colegio tengo que empoderar a los maestros, darles bastante libertad, espacio, pertrecharlos de conocimiento, conversar bastante con ellos para que tengan la visión, el perfil de colegio que busco, capacitarlos, decirles que reconozco, decirles en realidad que los padres de familia y los alumnos no vienen por mí al colegio, sino vienen por lo que ustedes hacen con los alumnos. Eso hace de que la persona más importante en una institución sean ustedes, los maestros. Y que como líder también debemos reconocer el error como parte de todo proceso, que ya lo hemos venido escuchando en todos estos 3 días. ¿Okay? Sin embargo, al líder lo motiva, o a muchos líderes los motiva el cuadro que has puesto hace un momento de poder. Les cuesta dejar el poder, les cuesta ceder poder, centralizan mucho poder en ellos, no delegan funciones, quieren que todo pase por su despacho, se sienten muy imprescindibles dentro de un colegio y que así como los políticos, que son malos líderes, generan esta mala atmósfera a los maestros, a los alumnos y a los padres. Entonces creo que nosotros como directores aquí, algunos, y mayoría como maestros, somos líderes dentro del aula, y a nuestro alumno no sabe ni creo que le interese quién es el ministro de Educación. Pero una vez que uno entra al aula y cierra la puerta, nosotros somos para ellos el sistema educativo. Ok, bien.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and then yet it's important to understand as well what, how would I say, where are the limits of how much you do, and when do you kind of also relax and let go of the power. I mean, I think the answer was great. I was just thinking maybe you were also talking about the stress and burnout, if they have too much responsibility, if leadership and lots of decisions are shared too much, it may be very stressful as well, because not everybody wants to decide. But also everybody wants to decide for everything all the time. Some people don't want that from motivation point of view, and they need somebody else to decide and somebody else to take the responsibility. So it's a fine balance between how much power and still not giving too much responsibility for people who don't want that. I don't know if this answered, but I think Sir there had a great answer. Okay, we are time is off. So I would like to thank you very much and say one thing. We are a collaborative team also in Finland, and I have a colleague who is working in education export, and she speaks Spanish, and they have created lots of brochures about the offering that our university has in Spanish. So I promise to take it all here. It's marketing material, so it is to sell our education. I just want to make it clear. But if you still want to take it, I'm happy, and then I can buy some nice Peruvian products and put them in the suitcase instead of these brochures. I would like to thank you warmly for being here. It's been fantastic in Peru, and I look forward to maybe seeing you one day in Finland. You are warmly welcome to visit me.
Muchísimas gracias, fuertes aplausos por favor para la profesora. Si desean, pueden...